G'day, Harrison here at Verdure Surf in Wellington, New Zealand. One of our goals this year is to work closely and collaborate with shapers. And so a big part of that for us is just making the whole process really easy for you. And that goes from the start of ordering a blank, how to shape the blank, learning the tolerances with the new materials, and finishing the blanks as well. So we're doing this video series to just make it really easy for you guys, and we'll go through all of the steps, everything you need to know to be able to get yourself right in one of these and then provide them to your customers as well. So this is our version of a surfboard blank, which we have built from the exact specifications of a shaper's CAD file. And this is exactly how it leaves from our factory and comes to you. These types of high-tech alternative constructions require a lot of machines to produce. And typically that has made the barrier to entry really high for them. We really wanted to lower that barrier to entry so that smaller domestic shapers are able to produce a board that is high-tech, high performance, and more environmentally friendly. This is a cross-section of one of our blanks. I'm just going to give you a walkthrough of all the materials involved. So it's a foam sandwich construction with a lightweight EPS core. We're using a stacked bendy ply to create these parabolic rails. That's what enables the incredible flex. And then on the deck, there's a hemp cloth with 2 mils of cork on top. And on the bottom, 3 mils of paulownia wood and hemp cloth as well. And those top and bottom skins are laminated with a bio-epoxy. Sweet, so let's go through how to shape one of these blanks. I reckon the first thing to address that's really important, and it's always the first question that people have when they approach one of these, is what are the tolerances and how much material can I take off in certain parts? That can be a little bit daunting, but I straight away just want to put your mind at ease and say, don't worry about it, and here is why. We make these really accurate to the file, and you can see on the rails the machine lines, and it has basically created that perfect rail shape that's in the file. So all you're needing to do is blend the cork in and then tuck the rails on the bottom how you'd like to. There's also the hemp cloth that's coming around, and it laps over onto the plywood rail. So as you're rolling that rail in, if you were ever worried, basically as soon as you saw the hemp, you would know that's far enough and don't go any further. So like with a foam blank, there are a lot of ways to go about shaping it, and shapers all have their different methods. And these are rad because it's kind of the same, you know. I'm going to show you what I like to do and how I like to approach it and give you the reasons why I do it that way. But really, whatever way you achieve the goal will also work. But for me, I like to start with rolling the deck rails down and blending them into the rail. So that's removing this little lip of cork along here. And I'm going to use this rasp thing. What is this thing?
Shinto rasp.
Shinto rasp. And I just start by going along basically on a 90-degree angle and just taking that lip off along the rail. So you can see here I've created almost like a plane line, and the important thing is now to blend in this little ledge. So the way that we've put these together, there's kind of an extra 2 mil taken off the deck, and then the 2 mil of cork goes back on. So this cork runs down the rail and it sits just below the apex, which allows you to get that perfect rail shape back. So now that I've taken that lip off and made it flat, I'm just going to work on blending this line in along the whole rail. And what I'm going to do is use this little curved sanding block that has an 80 grit type gauze on it. So you can see along here, I've now taken that little groove out, and that's blended the cork and the resin into that plywood rail really well. I'm just going to take this and roll them together. So you can see there, the rail really quickly coming into shape. I like to grab an 80 grit gauze and just run it on this deck line just to help get a really nice curve going. So now that we have rolled the deckline rail in, then we're going to focus on tucking the rail on the bottom edge. So the way that these are produced is cool. You can see that the machine has already created the roll in the bottom of the rail, and then we have laminated this piece of paulownia wood, and the two kind of join together. And so what we're doing now is just, that paulownia wood is 3mm thick, and we're just rolling off that 3mm and tucking it over however much you want. The way that we're going to do that is starting off by using one of these classic little planes that I'm sure all shapers have used. You can see how well the machine has done a job of creating this rail tuck that is in the file. And so I'm basically going to start my planer from about here, where I want the rail to start rolling over more. It's good to do as much as you're happy with the plane, and then move to a sanding block to finish it off. So I'll do that here. I like to put it on its rail, and then back to this curved block. Cool, so from there, once tucked the bottom rail, then we move on to sanding the bottom really smooth. You can see here, hopefully in the shadows, that the way the construction is, obviously, all the contours are in there. And so you can see the concave running into double concave and a little bit of V out the tail on this one. These skins are run through a drum sander before they're laminated on the board. And so it's finished, well, it's not finished, but at this stage it's sanded to about 180 grit, which is really, really smooth. But we just need to run the sander polisher over it with probably 180 again, and then orbital with 180 and 240 to take that texture off and get a real clean finish. So using a sander polisher and running with a flex pad soft pad with 180 grit sandpaper. So I think this is kind of very similar to sanding, where you're just running nose to tail and focusing into the concaves and smoothing it all out, keeping the sander as flat as possible. So now we're going to do the deck and just take the texture off this cork. You really don't have to do much. It's just about getting that really smooth finish on the top. It's the same as a regular resin board when you're sanding it. You just want to be careful of parts like where the nose rocker comes up, that you don't dig and take too much material there. So just be mindful of those bits, be careful there. I like to start in the middle and sort of work my way out to the sides. So now I'm just going to attack this nose and show you how I do it. I just like to run down kind of systematically and keep the polisher running in this direction, which I find makes it a lot easier to not, if you're heading up that way, then you're likely to dig in, but as you run down, it's easy to get it nice and clean. The wood rail is 20 mil going all the way around and up like that. And so you can blend this in fairly far if you'd like to, but also be aware of, where that ends. The shape is like in the file, and so we've already done that, so it should all be like pulled in quite nicely. But you're just mainly trying to clean up this cork and just curve that edge off. There's usually a little bit of resin that gets stuck in that little swallow, so the file works well to get that out. So yeah, now I'm back to this tool and just working on curving off that deckline cork. Back on the rail gauze, the 80 grit, I like to just get that rail feeling really nice using these, and so I'll jump on this and once I've done 80, I like to move to a 180 and do the same thing, just fine tuning it more. I mean, I won't go crazy with it right now, but get the idea. Once I've finished with the sander polisher, you can kind of see sometimes these small ridges. And what I like to do is use the same block, the medium density, with the 180 grit sandpaper, the same one I was using on the rail. That can be really good to just smooth out those ridges, and the best way I find is to put your board in the rack this way, and then you can run across the ridges like so. So what we are running here is a little foam soft pad and a 240 grit Velcro gauze screen on the cork. I find that the screens work really well with the cork to, I guess, let the dust through and just let it keep cutting really cleanly. And the 240 on the orbital works really well to just get it all super smooth and ready for oiling. On the wood, it's good to use sandpaper and not the gauze. The sandpaper gives it a real clean, smooth finish. And so the 180 grit just helps smooth it out, and then the 240 grit will take out the 180 grit scratches. Sweet, so that is a wrap and a rundown on how to go about shaping one of these. And yeah, like I said, it's the same with these with other boards, that every shaper's got their own way of going about it. So just enjoy shaping the board and finding your own rhythm and your way to do things, to tuck the edges and roll the rails and all that sort of stuff. You can really put your own flavor on it. But now you have a nice little run through of the way that I go about it and how I think it all comes together nicely. So have fun with it and yeah, enjoy. Next up, we're going to do another video explaining how to install the hardware, so fin boxes and leash plug. So we'll dive into that and make all of that stuff super clear. Until then, see you later.